This recipe for a wonderful pumpkin roll cake is so easy. All we have to do is follow the simple instructions. First, I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and then I buttered this 13 by 18 inch pan. I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper on top. The butter will hold this parchment paper down nicely. I'm going to press it right down into the pan, just like that. We'll start by mixing our dry ingredients in a bowl with a whisk. I have some all-purpose flour, some baking soda, some baking powder. I'm going to add in some cinnamon and some salt. I have some nutmeg, allspice, and ground ginger. I'll add that in and just mix this around. Once we get this mixed up, we'll set this aside and get on to our other ingredients. Now I'm going to add 3 room temperature eggs. I'm also going to add in our sugar. I'll mix the 2 of these together. Then while mixing, I'll add our vanilla. Now the pumpkin puree. Mix the pumpkin puree just until combined. Now we're going to fold in nice and gently our dry ingredients. Just go ahead and pour it all in and then just start folding. Just take your spatula and run it through the middle and over the top, and just keep lightly folding it. You don't want to beat this harshly. You just want to fold it nice and gingerly right into the pumpkin puree mix. Now that our cake mix is all mixed up nicely, it's time to pour it out onto our parchment lined tray. You can make this with a cake mix as well if you don't want to make it from scratch. However, look at this beautiful color. The nutmeg, the ginger, the allspice, it gives it such a really beautiful color. Now that it's all poured on here, just take your spatula and spread it out as nice and evenly as possible. Because when we roll our cake up, we don't want really thick places or really thin places. So just spread it out, get it as nice and level as you can. You can use an offset spatula like this. It's a cake decorating spatula, but this really helps get it nice and even. Just glide it right along the top, and it really helps to spread it out so that you don't have any high or low spots. Our oven is at 350 degrees. We're going to get our cake in the oven for about 15 to 18 minutes. While our cake is baking, I have a big cutting board I'm going to put down, as well as a really clean kitchen towel. I'm going to put this right on top of the cutting board. And then I'm going to take some powdered sugar, or confectioner sugar, it's the same thing. I'm just going to take this, I have it in a bowl, and I have a little sifter here. I'm going to pour it in, and I'm just going to start sifting it all over the towel. I want to get a nice layer completely covering the towel that's at least the size of the cake I'm making. This is the surface we're going to turn our cake out onto when it comes out of the oven. So I want to have it all ready to go when the cake comes out. We're going to roll our cake up in this towel, and we don't want it to stick. There we go, that should be just fine. And here we have our cake. It is out of the oven, and I checked it with a toothpick to make sure it was done. All right, now comes the big moment. I'm going to take this pan and I'm going to turn it over carefully right on top of my powdered sugar towel. There we go. Now just carefully lift the pan off. And as you can see, here is our cake with our parchment paper right on top of our towel. I'm going to carefully start pulling the parchment paper off, nice and slow, very easily. And you want to work as quickly as you can, because while our cake is still hot, we're going to want to get it rolled up in our powdered sugar towel. Okay. Okay, now I'm just going to take my towel and I'm going to lay it right over the cake and I'm going to start rolling nice and quickly but very carefully. We'll get this rolled up and then we're going to set this aside to cool right out on the countertop for 30 minutes. While our cake is cooling for 30 minutes, I have some room temperature butter and some cream cheese. It's softened room temperature cream cheese. I'm going to cream these together and then we'll add our powdered sugar. And this will be the filling that goes inside of our cake. Now that our butter and cream cheese are successfully mixed together, I'm going to gradually start adding the sifted powdered sugar. It has been 30 minutes that our cake has been sitting rolled up in the towel, and now we're going to carefully unroll our cake and see just how it turned out. Just unroll it nice and slow. Take the filling and start just placing it right around on top of the cake. Once you do that, it's time to carefully and lightly start spreading it, and make sure you get it up under the end so that you have that really nice spiral when you look at it once it's cut. And of course you want to spread it as nice and evenly as possible. And don't worry about getting clear out to the very edge, because we're going to trim these edges off once we get it all rolled and chilled. And now that's as even as I can get it. So we're going to carefully start rolling our cake right back up, just the way it was when we took it out of this towel. Just be nice and gentle. Pull the towel away if you need to. Just like this. And as you can see, that is super easy. And there we have it. Now I'm going to get a tray that I have set aside with some plastic wrap. I carefully rolled up my towel and I put my tray right behind my big towel. And that way I could carefully and swiftly pick up my cake and put it right on the plastic wrap tray. Then I'm going to twist up the ends just like this, so our cake keeps a really nice roll shape. I'll put this in the refrigerator for at least an hour. I've had my pumpkin roll cake in the refrigerator for a couple of hours, and now I'm going to unwrap it, and I'm going to want to trim off the ends. We want to make them nice and flat on the end. So I'm just going to use a serrated knife. Is the one that has the little ridges along there. And I'm just going to trim off the ends so that it's nice and straight on the end. And as you can see, this is what our pumpkin roll looks like. Now it would be a great time to put this on a platter and dust it with powdered sugar and cut it into slices. Or you can wrap it back up and put it in the refrigerator or package it properly for the freezer. Then, when it's time to serve it, take it out and let it thaw in the refrigerator so it's still nice and cold before cutting and serving. I am so glad you were here today, and I hope you realize this pumpkin roll cake really isn't as challenging as it might look. Anybody can put this together. Just follow these simple instructions. I'm so glad you're here, and I would really appreciate if you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.